So we're going to be looking at the book by Susan Beth Pfeffer. It's called Life as We Knew It. And whenever I was in middle school, I actually had to do a report on this book. I had to read it, and then we had to do a little presentation about the background and all that. And at the time, I really did not like reading. I was very bored of it. I had to try anything to try and get motivated to do it. So I want to try and make all of you interested in reading it beforehand, and then also as reading it, so you can get involved with it, you can find meaning behind it, and you can also maybe make connections to your own life of what you would do in this situation, because it's a very big event that happened in the world. So what happened in this book is the main character, Miranda, she's living her life, and a meteor hits the moon and knocks it out of orbit, and it actually ends up knocking it closer to Earth, and it causes a whole bunch of problems throughout the world. Big things change, volcanoes go off, it snows early, and the winters are horrible. It just throws everything off on the spectrum, and it makes life completely different, and many people don't know what they're doing. So throughout the book, Miranda, the main character, what she does is she writes different journals that have to do with what's going on in the world. She explains like her feelings behind it and just what life is about at the time when this is going on. So what I want to do is beforehand, before anybody starts reading the book, is I want you to start writing a journal about just your life in general and how it's going. And then all of a sudden, whenever this phenomenon occurs, we're going to start our journal based on each day reading. And then after we realize what happens in the book, you have to write your journal as if you were Miranda. What would you be doing in your life differently? What do you think the emotions would be going on inside your head? Would you be freaking out? What are your action plans? And then whenever we finish the book, by the end, you'll be able to know how your life was different than Miranda's, of how you would have handled the situation compared to how she is. And it's a very big thing that you have to have imagination with, because obviously this was a big thing that happened to this character where it's actually happening. What would you do if you had to put yourself in the situation of the moon's not closer to the Earth? And just a few things from her journals, like just to get a little idea of the emotion that you can bring into it. Some quotes from the book. This one says, "I guess I always felt even if the world came to an end, McDonald's would still be open." So you have to imagine, okay, yeah, if like you're having a bad night, you can always go with your friends and go to McDonald's or go to Walmart at night. But what would you do if everything was so chaotic in the world, even McDonald's was closed? What would you do in that situation? Also, what about desserts? I asked. If the world comes to an end, I'm going to want cookies. Just another example, like you might want to sit there and say like, okay, I just want to eat some cookies because I'm feeling down, like I'm not having a good day, like this is horrible. But what would you do if everything's going wrong in the world? And would you be worried about cookies or worried about other things? The only way you can be the best at something is to be the best you can be. And this quote I like because it has to show your mentality if something severe happens in your life. Are you prepared for what's going on? Are you not prepared for what's going on? So, with all this said, everybody will get a little spiral notebook, a little journal, a little composition book. You can bring it in if you want it to be special, but it's going to be your journal, your Life as We Knew It journal, or your life journal based on our book. Every single time you read a section or read a chapter from the book, take a second, reflect on what you read, look back into it, and write down your feelings, exactly what you would do if you were in Miranda's shoes. At one point in the book, the family has to scour for food because the mom's very worried about things, just like a lot of people had to do at one point in our time when the world shut down. What would you do in that situation? Would you help your family think of a plan? Would you try to go like write out a list of what you needed and go try and get it as fast as you can, set up like an evacuation plan, anything that happened? So at this point, your journal is going to be your motivation. Every time a chapter gets read, write down the journal. This is something that if I were in school, I wish I would have done, because it would have gotten me so more involved in the book, because instead of just reading it because I had to know what was going on, I actually had to read it to figure out, okay, what would I do in that situation? And I would have my own little book. And at the very end, whenever everybody's done, you can all compare your books, and you can also just look at how different your life would be compared to somebody else's in this situation, because we all handle things well. What do you think your family would do based on another family's? And I think this book is a very good read, especially like if you're not really into books and stuff, because this was the one I picked because it was so unique to me. And at the time, I wasn't really a fan of reading, and now I think that if I had these opportunities given to me, and I honestly would have put myself in her shoes and made my own little reading journal based on what she did, I think I really would have enjoyed it, and it honestly would have made me enjoy the book more, and also maybe put forth more effort whenever I had to do assignments about it too, because I full on had to kind of relate to it and see what I would do in the end.